I'm Andrea Amador, the Juicy Woman, and I'm talking about, this is straight talk on being curvy. And let me tell you, it's not easy being a curvy chick in a thin, obsessed world, and it's really very, very difficult. And what I'm here to do is I'm here to help you, to give you the tools to feel confident and love your body exactly as you are. That means no more obsessing, no more pointing, and no more blaming yourself and saying, oh my God, I'm so fat, something's wrong with me, I'll never be okay. Because really, when you get down to it, that only hurts you. Hey, Mav.
Hi, my darling.
How
I can't see how to join you.
That's okay. So we can just go ahead and just have you on the screen. So well, let's just go ahead and do what we can, yeah?
Okay, sure. Well, what I wanted to do was I wanted to gather women here so that we could start to have conversations, different kinds of conversations, because usually the holidays are fraught with so much pressure and tension and burden, all about, you know, looking a certain way, and all of a sudden you're seeing these relatives that you haven't seen for a year, and you're not crazy about them, and they're not in sync with you, and all of a sudden you feel the fears welling up in your body that you're going to be judged as being fat or ugly or any of the other things. We fall into these roles within our family where we keep on acting the same way over and over again based on what they say. We respond, and it's all the same. It's a cycle. And I'm here to help women to break the cycle, to feel differently about themselves and their bodies.
Fabulous, fabulous. And I'm sure, you know, as the holiday season fast approaches, and I think in America there are more celebrations than we have here. There are, as you say, lots of time to get together and lots of questions, fears, and doubts. And there's so much temptation put in our way. The expectation to have a big family dinner and sit down together and eat. And if you have some kind of eating issue and sitting around the family table together could bring up some of those things. So what do you suggest that people can do to kind of peacefully within themselves negotiate that and also handle that?
Well, the very, very biggest and most important thing to do is to start to set boundaries within your family, to treat yourself in a way that you demonstrate that you respect yourself, therefore others must do the same. And to renegotiate relationships, because many times we get into these patterns in our relationships that become very unhealthy and destructive, self-destructive. That creates a lot of problems for women when they're involved in these destructive relationships, because when we feel that we're not safe speaking up and saying what's on our mind within the confines of that relationship, we will go to what feels safe. And if food is the focus for safety, if food is the vehicle for giving you that sense of, oh my gosh, I'm okay, I'm safe, then you'll just continually find yourself in that place over and over again, and your spoon will hit the bottom of the ice cream container, or you'll have that third helping of mashed potatoes, or have the whole bag of chips, or whatever it is. We must realize that when we do these things, when we act out in this way, in this desperation for food, it's not a cause to hate ourselves. It's a cause to look within and to go within yourself with the deepest of compassion, to realize that that's your soul's way of saying, help me, please. Look, there's a problem. We need to look at this.
And so when somebody starts to look at that problem and ask the questions, what's the next thing that you would suggest that they do?
The next thing is to realize that whatever is going on in our life is telling us what it is that we need to look at. So if, let's say, it's a relationship that is strained, a husband-wife relationship, or even a situation where someone is going out and meeting others, and they're realizing that many of their values are not being respected by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look and you have to decide for yourself, what are your deal breakers? What are you willing to compromise on, and what are you absolutely not willing to compromise on? And the thing that I teach my clients is it's so important to get really clear. And the way to be really clear is to shut out everything that's around you, all of the static that's going on, all of everybody's opinions and everybody's thoughts and the media and what everybody tells you should do and shouldn't do and what's right, or history tells you that you should do this. And shut everything out and go within. Got to have some time each day to be quiet and listen to your heart.
I think that's a great way to begin the day, and also if you don't begin the day that way, at least give yourself that time during the day to connect in that way and to really trust that the messages that come through, your intuition that is guiding you, the wisdom that is there within you, will reveal your truth to you. Is that something that you recommend people do as regular as every day, or what would you say to them?
Absolutely. Okay. And to do it in the simplest, most practical ways. Meditation may not be attainable for some people because they're thinking of meditation in this very big way that seems difficult and complicated and too much of a process. You don't necessarily have to, sit cross-legged in a room filled with silence and close your eyes. It's as simple as just taking a moment out of your day, stepping back, sitting silently, or if maybe sitting is not your thing, that's fine too. You can walk. But as long as you take some time just to be quiet and to honor the stillness within, things will start getting a lot quieter from without.
I love that. I love that. I also encourage the people that I work with to do something similar. And so I really love that you share that, and that's part of what you help people with. And I think quite often when I look at things to do with eating or diet or self-image, that's not something that comes through. It's all about, eat less, do more, be more active. But there's nothing that I've seen so far that suggests what you're suggesting. So I think that's a really valuable point that you've raised.
Recently I wrote my book, Love in the Skin You're In, The Juicy Woman's Guide to Making Peace with Food and Friends with Your Body. And it took me 6 years to do that. And the reason being because I have struggled for, so many years feeling that my body was my enemy. And I know there are so many women who feel the same way. And as part of that feeling and thinking that my body was my enemy, I thought that I was out of control around food because I just had no self-discipline. And a lot of women who are feeling this way, who are feeling, what's the matter with me? Why can't I, stay on a diet? Why can't I just affix to eating these foods that are just good for me? And why do I keep on hurting myself? It is because of that reason I explained, where we continually go to what feels safe and what gives us a sense of comfort. So over the course of those 6 years, I learned this eating process called intuitive eating, which to an emotional eater is just unbelievable. It basically is learning to eat in response to your body's hunger. And no longer having the the restrictions of dieting or a formal program holding you accountable to what you eat or determining what you eat. So with a no-holds-barred permission, full-on permission, fresh attitude toward food, you get the opportunity to re-explore and re-examine food and discover, wow, it's not all that it's cracked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
There are still, so many foods that you're just going to absolutely love. But when you start giving yourself permission to eat, I mean really eat the foods that you fear, you're going to start to realize that your response will be different. Just imagine, Maeve, if, what's a favorite food of yours?
I love pasta. I love pasta. I love potatoes, anything with potatoes in.
Yes.
All different ways of making potatoes. And I love chocolate.
Oh. Oh, we could dine at the same table any day of the week. Let me tell you, girl.
Yeah.
So have you ever been on a diet and intentionally set out to restrict the pasta, the potatoes, and the chocolate?
Intentionally restrict those things?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They don't last.
And they don't last. That's right. And what is your experience of why it doesn't last?
Because I'm not enjoying it. I'm not having the things that I like. I feel restricted. I feel limited. And I'm thinking about the things that I like that I miss.
Yes. And most important is that we don't want anybody telling us what we can and cannot have.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's infuriating.
Mm.
When you give yourself the permission to eat the pasta and the potatoes and the chocolate, first of all, have you ever? Do you feel comfortable around those foods?
I'm beginning to. I've been reading your book, and some of that has really starting to rub off on me. So I'm starting to see those things differently, and not like they're the enemy, and that I'm feeling differently about it. So I will choose when to eat it, and I will think about it differently, and I don't get all caught up in the whole, oh, but I know that this is bad for me, and I shouldn't be doing it, and that whole talk about what goes on when I'm eating it. So I'm changing the way I think and feel about it.
Yeah, that's
So thank you for writing that book.
Oh, I love that. Got it.
There you go.
This is my book, baby. Yes, and it's even on my desk.
Aha.
Because I find that even though we know something, and maybe you've written a book or shared something with an audience, just because we're able to share something with others, it doesn't mean that we fully internalize these lessons that we have to share. It doesn't matter whether it's teaching someone how to crochet, or if it's making a great pasta sauce, or knowing how to set boundaries with someone you love. It takes practice. Whatever it is that is worth doing well, and that takes practice. Mm-hmm. And the whole process of learning to change your relationship with food is so much of a process. And that's the really big difference between the concept of looking at a diet as a means of controlling your weight versus learning how to feel safe around food. That's what I do. I teach women how to feel safe around food. So as I was mentioning, it took me a really long time to write the book. And now at 50 years old, I'm at this place in my life and with my body where my body is changing, and it's no longer tolerant of the same amount of sugar and starches and other foods that I've eaten, And I'm noticing like these little body aches that are happening, and pains, and just a lot of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it happens to all women. They realize that their body is changing. And in order to meet the change, and in order to be able to, um, in order to be able to live the best life that you can, there are changes that you have to make. There are compromises that you have to make. So recently, I found out that I was pre-diabetic. I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, and I decided to attend a diabetes class. And in that, it was a 6-week class, and it basically taught me the foundation of how to change my eating. And when I first went into the class, I told them that I had personal and professional motivations in being there, and that I was coming kicking and screaming because I had finally achieved this place in my life where I feel safe being surrounded by cookies and cakes and pies, and not feeling the desperate, overwhelming need to eat them all, and being able to manage them, but still, having occasional binges, but having a sense that as I continue to move through and deal with the source of whatever it is that's really upsetting me, my eating has changed. And so I went through this program, and I remember the first thing that one of the teachers said, we were talking about checking your blood sugar, the blood glucose, and she was saying, it's really just a benchmark telling you where you're starting. And up until then, I was so resistant and unwilling to figure out how to do this simple process of testing the blood glucose level. And after she said that, it was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. I respect that. In a lot of the resistances that I felt around making some changes around the way that I eat and the way that my family eats, it found a gentler perspective. Instead of thinking of things in terms of black and white, because that's a big thing that this book stands for, is helping the reader to change the way that they think from looking at things as absolutes. Yes, this is great and this is horrible. Looking at the gray areas, looking at all of the rainbow of possibilities that exist between the yes and the no, or the good and the bad. Because it's impossible to live like people in those absolutes. There is such a spectrum of colors within and among our lives that if we get caught in this place, well, I'm good if I eat carrots, and I'm bad if I eat chocolate cake, you will end up hating yourself every single day that you're eating chocolate cake instead of carrots.
Wow. And the other thing that I've learned since starting reading your book is when I feel something and I think it's hunger, that it's not always going to be hunger.
Yeah.
So what is it? And sometimes I've been upset about something, and my usual response would be, well, I'll reach for something food-wise that is comforting, usually chocolate, because that's the most comforting one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And so recently what I've started to do is look at what it is that I'm actually feeling, instead of going, oh, well, I must be hungry, I'll reach for that. And, really start to write down what is actually happening and get clear on it. Sometimes I'm thirsty. I don't recognize thirst.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so go and have a glass of water.
Yes.
There's some really simple things that I'm doing, which it blows my mind how simple it is. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I say thank you for writing this book, I mean thank you for writing this book. Because
Wow.
there are some ideas that you have shared with me, and I feel you're writing to me. I know that the book is for anyone who's reading it, but I do feel when I'm reading it that you are talking directly to me. It's like you're
Yeah.
there in the room, you
I
know, holding my hand and reminding me that it isn't always about the food. It could be something else, and what is that? And have a look at that, and write it down, and look at things that when you know. There's some brilliant things in there that you suggest, exercises to do,
Yes.
and I really encourage the reader to look at those and take time. And you know, if it's not the right time, put it down, come back to it. You
Yes.
know, but just to really take the time when you can to go through that and explore what that really is about, because for me it's I want to show you what I'm doing now, and I'm walking and doing things that I hadn't been doing for a long
I
time.
love it. That is so
And
exciting.
enjoying the process, and I'm timing myself and enjoying this. Okay, last week I walked and it took me 8 minutes to get from here to there, and this week I'm going to do it and see if it takes me as long or longer or less time. You know, and I'm having fun with that. I'm having fun with that, and it's not about, oh my goodness, I'm so fat and I'm so overweight, and oh my goodness, it's going to take me forever to get to my ideal goal, and blah blah blah. It's about enjoying each moment and experiencing any opportunity to be physical, which I hadn't done for a long time. The aches and pains are starting to dissipate. You know, I even started challenging myself. I've been walking up the stairs and hurting. My knees are hurting. And I've been running up the stairs.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying I'm, you know, ready for a marathon yet, but you know, I'm moving differently.
Yes.
I am moving
Yes.
differently because I'm seeing my body differently,
Yes. It's so.
challenging myself in ways I wouldn't have done before. So that's why I say to you, thank you for writing this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love hearing that you're loving yourself more, Meg. That's what it is. It comes down to loving ourselves.
Absolutely.
And what research has shown is that whenever we have a negative emotion, we tend to get addicted to these negative emotions, these feelings of anger and sadness and depression. They get caught in our body, in our energy system. And we have to realize that our body has an energy system. And when your body is out of sync, and when you're feeling these emotions, anger, sadness, depression, feeling unloved or rejected, it all goes back to the time in the past when you've experienced these emotions before. And once something happens that has a very, very strong, that is connected to a strong emotional event, it gets stuck in your energy system, and each time you're reminded of it in any way, whether it's a discussion, whether it's a smell, whether it's somebody talking about something, or you seeing something, a movie, reading a book, bingo, it's reactivated in your body. And there's this part of your brain that's called the amygdala. And every time you feel this same type of stress, this same type of loneliness or sadness or anger or any kind of negative emotion, it rings, and it's almost as though you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. You cannot think clearly because it's like you're back in the past of whatever it is that has held you hostage in the past. But the great, great news is that you can shift the energy in your body by tapping into certain acupressure points that are on your body. So there's a series of points. This is called emotional freedom technique that I want to show you. And it's derived from acupuncture. Acupuncture is a 5,000 plus year old science that was developed by Chinese doctors. And they discovered that our bodies have these electrical currents running throughout our bodies. And that whenever there is an emotional block, whenever there is an emotional discord or like a short circuiting, you will feel anxiety or pain in the body. So some examples of that are when you have a craving, when you feel when you're experiencing an allergic reaction, post-traumatic stress syndrome, when you have a migraine, a headache. All of these things have emotional components that, although they are physical symptoms, they are made worse by emotions that are connected to them.
Mhm.
So when you use the emotional freedom technique, also called the tapping, to change the energy, to neutralize the emotion connected to whatever it is that has occurred, you create a flow, you create a free flow of energy that all of a sudden, where you were once very resistant and anxious or fearful about something, you feel like, okay, let's do it.
Mm.
Yeah. That is why it makes no sense to beat up on yourself every single time you're going for the chocolate cake instead of reaching for the carrot, because you know the carrot is better for you. You know, health tells us it's better. Because what we must realize is that there are emotions that are driving us to eat that chocolate cake.
Mhm.
And behind every craving we have, if you dig and you dig, you're going to find unmet emotional needs. So, can I walk you through the points, the emotional
I'd,
freedom technique?
I'd love you to. Yes, please.
Okay, absolutely. This is called the psychological reversal point, also called the karate chop point. This is such a powerful point because whenever you tap on this and you combine it with an affirmation statement, because EFT is really like combining the best of psychotherapy with the whole Eastern the acupuncture, combining a great therapy session with like a breakthrough, an emotional, physical breakthrough. So when you have a great massage and you feel like the kind of relief whenever something clears in your life, that's what you are able to create using this tapping. So let's walk through this with just a simple craving, and I will give you the direction, the words, some suggestions of what women could use for this when they deal with cravings. Okay?
Okay. Yep. Sounds
All right.
good.
So let's see. What would something be that you would have a craving for?
I'd go for the chocolate.
Okay. All right. So we're going to tap here, and we're just going to repeat, even though I really want this chocolate,
Even though I really want this chocolate,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I really want this chocolate,
Even though I really want this chocolate,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
One more time. You're going to repeat it 3 times. Even though I really want this chocolate,
Even though I really want this chocolate,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Okay, so that's the first thing. We've just targeted what the problem is. The problem is a craving for chocolate. So now what you need to do is you need to go through the remaining points of your body and remind your energy system to continue to tune in to the problem, so at the same time you're creating a clearing by tapping on these points. So we'll do this. This chocolate.
This chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
I love this chocolate.
I love this chocolate.
I crave this chocolate.
I crave this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
It makes me feel so good.
It makes me feel so good.
I really want this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
Oh, it feels so good.
Oh, it feels so good.
I want this chocolate.
I want this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
I really want this chocolate.
I'm craving it.
I'm craving it.
My mouth is watering.
Oh, my mouth is watering.
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 Oh, it's so creamy.
Oh, it's so creamy.
It's so delicious.
It's so delicious.
Okay, now let me check in with you. We just did 2 rounds. Each time that you do this and 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 this is 1 round. So it's 9 points, including the karate chop point. That is 1 round. Now, your energy is going to move around constantly. You may possibly be feeling less hungry for the chocolate, presuming even that you had a real craving to begin with, or you may be wanting to knock over your grandmother to get a piece of chocolate. So let me check in with you, because actually I didn't beforehand ask you if you really wanted the chocolate and how much you wanted it.
Okay, well, before we started talking, I probably didn't want it that much. But then as we were doing it, I was thinking, you know what, I don't want it at all, because I was just laughing so much. Even if I did want to go and reach for it just for the sake of, because it's there and I could have it, I was starting to realize that really I didn't want it. And I was just having so much fun doing that with you that it became a nonsense.
Yes.
Did I really want it? No.
Yes. So there's a couple things working here, and that's one scenario, and I'll explain that. But then there's another scenario, and that's when you increase your craving and you want it more than ever. So the first is what you and I were doing. Since you weren't feeling that much of a craving to begin with, it was like a kind of take it or leave it thing, your energy was already pretty even. When we started doing the tapping, it was almost as though your calm waters were being even more pacified. Because it wasn't, you weren't feeling upset about that. There was no apparent feeling that what I was saying was bringing up and making you feel any differently. Now, for somebody else who may have been listening, it could be that they started out very calm, and then something that I said may have triggered them and made the craving rise even more. What happens when this occurs is that it is a trigger to your energy system that has activated a memory of something, either a body memory or an emotional memory, where there is a sense of longing. And you're in that state of resistance where you're saying, I don't want it, I want it, I really want it, I don't want it, so you're fighting yourself. By doing the tapping on these different points, what research has actually shown is that you are sending a signal to your brain, to the amygdala, that whatever it is that you are thinking or speaking about will pair that thought with the awareness that you're going to be okay.
Right. Wow.
And when you make the statement, I love and accept myself, that's pretty damn big stuff.
Mm.
Because what we tend to do is we tend to hold out for perfection. And we say, well, I'll never be good enough because I'm 70 pounds overweight, because I haven't finished college, because, my husband divorced me, because of all of these reasons. Everybody has their own history of why they feel that they can prove why they're not good enough. It's human nature for all of us to feel that there's something wrong with us. That's just the way it is. We're always having these conversations with ourselves, these self-talk comments that are going on. In fact, research has shown that we have, I think, over 60,000 thoughts a day. And most of them is a lot of negativity, going over our mistakes that we've done in the past, a lot of feeling like, well, I should do this, but I'm not doing this, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And by using the tapping on these negative feelings and emotions and thoughts that keep on repeating throughout the day, you're neutralizing that, and you're giving your body and you're giving your subconscious, a new direction. Hey, I choose to love and accept myself. Whenever you tap on this spot, the psychological reversal point, whenever you touch it or tap it, you're actually open to suggestion. So when you are open to suggestion and you're integrating the tapping with positive affirmations, you are making the most of what you can do to change the way you feel. You're in charge of how you want to feel.
That's empowering stuff.
Yes.
Empowering stuff, Andrea. Thank you, Sam. That's a really practical. Would you suggest that somebody uses that as they get a craving? Is that something that you encourage?
What I have found is I've done teleclass programs with the women when I've asked them to actually bring the food to the phone, and we would all smell it, and each of us would go through the cravings. And it works 50 of one, 12 of one, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It really depends upon the extent to which they're craving. Because what's going on is that many times that impulse to eat the food and to consume it and to use the vehicle of the food as that way, that quick fix of getting through and feeling like, okay, life is safe again. It may be more effective than someone actually being willing to say, well, wait a minute now, I'm going to tap through and I'm going to discover what emotion is really at the core of this. By the time you actually get to that, you may just cave in and eat the food. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that's why I talk about how to use the EFT to question your phantom hunger. Going back to what you were saying, that our bodies can fool us many times in thinking that we're hungry when it's really not hunger. It's the feeling that is rising from your body from being angry at something, or feeling resentful, or feeling so sad or ashamed or guilty of having done something that it's almost impossible for you to consider allowing the emotion, because there's that part of your brain that's saying, no, 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 it's not safe, it's not safe. You'll die if you feel this emotion. But it's not true. You won't die. But you can neutralize those emotions by tapping on them. So that's why I suggest that you start your day, or as soon as you possibly can, with some quiet time, because that gives you an opportunity to reconnect with what feels true to you. Each of us has our own true north, or whatever is, what feels true to us. I call it higher self. Each of us has our connection to our higher self, or you may want to, some people may call it God or Buddha, or by whatever name it is. It's that loving awareness that keeps us connected to the best person that we can be.
Wow. Makes so much sense.
Yes.
And you explain a lot of this in your book.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me, Andrea. Sorry, go on.
No. I just want to say that I have used emotional freedom technique for myself and for my clients for many years, and I have found that there is absolutely nothing as effective as knowing that you are the one in charge of how you feel. Many people, I have a lot of history of being sexually abused in the past. Many people drag their past around with them. And they don't realize that they don't have to do that. They're making all of their life decisions based on what happened to them in the past. But what's actually happening in their body is every time they recall an aspect of that, or every time they get reminded of being hurt in that way, their body is automatically going back to that place of, it's like a fight or flight type of thing. And they're not able to live in the present. The emotional freedom technique gives you the ability to be present.
Fabulous. I love that it's available, and I love how you describe it and how it's being used in this way. And I know that there are quite a few things that you're doing for women to help them to love themselves, love their bodies, and have a different kind of relationship and experience with food. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is your Facebook party. And I know that there is something that you're doing which I'm very curious about, and also very excited about, because I think this is a great way of reaching more people. So can you tell me what that really is?
Absolutely. Well, my Facebook party, there's another one coming tomorrow, Tuesday night, at 8 p.m. Eastern. And what I will be doing is, well, first let me explain. This is going to be a live, interactive, online event, which means that it is chatting live with the women who are in the Facebook group. I'm going to ask them some questions, and we're going to have discussions. The purpose of the questions is for them to help them to get clear on what issues they see that are their obstacles. One of the things I want to ask them is, how do they think that their body is holding them back? And the purpose that I'm asking questions like this is not to focus on the negative, but you must be realistic and realize that there's no way that you could fool your body into thinking something that isn't true. Now, I'm definitely a proponent of positive thinking, but you must realize that when you tell yourself a lie, your body knows that it's not true. There's this BS response that comes up. Yeah, BS. So what you do is you say what's really on your mind, the thing that you think that you shouldn't say, the thing that you think you should stuff down or keep quiet or whatever. That's the thing that you say, because that is the block that's being created in your energy system. And once you can start recognizing that, and then we tap on it, that's when it's just like a stream that had blocks of river rocks in it and just being blown away by explosives. That's when the free flow of the water just moves through and everything's hunky-dory.
I love it. I love it. So I know that there are probably people already in the group. How do people get into the group to join the party?
Right now, if they'll just join my Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/The Juicy Woman, there will be different ads there, different updates where they can find the way of getting into the group. Just recently I did a blog post called Just the Bare Necessities, talking about how we women many times we put ourselves at the very bottom of our own priority list. And at the bottom of that blog post is another link to the Facebook group. So I'm just going to keep on offering ways for the women to get involved.
Okay, and where will they find your blog so they can find that blog post?
They can find that at thejuicywomanblogs.com.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Actually,
I will
I'm so sorry, thejuicywomanblog.com.
I will be checking out your blog because I want to read that.
That's great. Thank you.
And so remind me, I've forgotten already, when the party starts?
8 p.m. Eastern. And
Tomorrow.
I'm going to make sure that it is recorded, so whoever is unable to actually attend, they can actually see the event.
Okay. And so to join, you have to be in the Facebook group?
Yes. And the purpose of it, because I always have an evil-minded purpose in there. The purpose is I need to get women to get an example in their bones and in the bones understanding of the emotional freedom technique. So next week, I'm going to be offering a free teleclass showing them how to apply EFT, tapping, whatever it is that's making it crazy.
Excellent. And so are you going to share information about that during the party tomorrow? I
will. Yes, I will.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes. And
wow, you're going to be sharing a lot.
Oh, I am. Oh, my gosh, get ready. I am, because, in fact, what I'm going to be doing is now until January, when I begin my next Losing Weight Without Dieting program, I'm going to be doing Facebook parties and free teleclasses each week to really help women understand and use EFT so that they could deal with whatever it is that's freaking them out.
I love it. Well, it will be 1 a.m. here, but I will do my very best to join you because I think this is great what you're doing. And there are so many women who will benefit from being connected with you and hearing you share this amazing work and how this EFT will transform things for them. So I will do, and also for me, I'm also thinking for myself, but I will definitely do what I can to be there at 1 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm in the UK, so yeah, I'm 5 hours ahead of you.
Thank you. I'm so touched.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us today, and I know this will be going out, so I just encourage anyone who's listening to join the Facebook party. Yes. And join Andrea on Facebook, follow her blog, and just read whatever this woman has to share because this is good stuff. You're a gem, Andrea.
Wow, thank you. You so made my day, May. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go do some more tapping.
All right. You know, I think I will too. I have more packing to do. I'm in the midst of a move. In a couple of weeks, we'll be moving. So, yeah, that's definitely a cause for tapping.
I bet.
Relocating. Wow, yes.
Yeah, well, good luck with all of that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea. Lovely talking to you today.
Oh, it was great talking to you. Bye, babe.
Bye, Andrea. Sorry about the darkness.
Oh, that's okay. We'll figure it out next time.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye.